Hi, I'm Jackie Stapleton and welcome to ATOL TV. If you've made it here, it means that you might just love ISO standards as much as me and you are truly interested and possibly even excited about learning more about them. Well, you've come to the right place. Today I am going to cover Clause 9.3 Management Review in ISO 45001. I have the standard right in front of me on the screen. I'm going to go through each of the elements of this clause and then I'm going to explain each of them to you. So I'm going to break it down into small chunks and explain each as we go. All right. So the leading sentence in Clause 9.3 Management Review says that top management shall review the organisation's OH&S management system at planned intervals to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy and effectiveness. So I'll stop there because that's a bit of a mouthful in itself. So the first thing that stands out to me is its top management. So the definition of top management is the people or group of people that direct and control an organisation. So it is the decision makers, I always say. These top management are required, because the word is shall, they're required to review the business's OH&S management system. Okay, so it's a requirement. They need to review this system. And then it says at planned intervals. So at planned intervals, it doesn't tell us dates or when or how often. So normally planned intervals can be anything. There's nothing prescriptive. I'm just going to share with you what I see. I see that management reviews are either conducted annually, every 6 months, or even with newer systems every 3 months. Another way of interpreting planned intervals is that at the end of a management review, they'll go, okay, when will we review all of these items again? And it will be based on risk, essentially. Like, you know, they might decide, look, we've got a lot to action, let's give ourselves a few months. Or, hey, we've got this really important or high risk issue that we need to action and we need to stay on top of it. Maybe we should regroup in 4 weeks. They'll set the next meeting date at that management review. Okay, so you can play with whatever the planned intervals are that suits you and the business that you're introducing these management reviews to. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room before I keep going. I keep saying management review. That is the name of the clause. Normally, we see these management reviews as meetings, a structured meeting. I'm going to go through some inputs. These inputs can end up being the agenda for the meeting. But I do want to stress that nowhere in Clause 9.3 does it say that you are to conduct a management review meeting. You might already have processes in place that, say for example, when an internal audit is conducted, internal audit or audit results is one of the things that I'll share with you shortly. That is an input. You might already get the audit results. If I'm top management, I'll receive the audit results. I review it because I'm top management. I'm conducting a management review. I'll send it back. I'll either say great work or I might have some feedback or comments. So in that example, there's evidence that me as top manager reviewed the audit results and the evidence is in my response. I've actually met that requirement. I'm top management, I've reviewed it, there's evidence that I have. That was not done in a meeting. All right? So think, as you're developing this, think, well, what are we already doing? Will that meet the requirements of this clause? Now, in saying that and giving that example, most of the time management review is a meeting. It seems to be the standard way of doing it, so it must be the easiest way of wrapping it all up together. But I just did want to emphasize that nowhere does it say in this clause that it is a management review meeting. Some of the things I might talk about might refer to it being conducted like a meeting. All right, I think I've covered that. I will move on. The next section says the management review shall include consideration of the status of actions from previous management reviews. That's a no-brainer. That's pretty simple, isn't it? So it's just saying, look, what was discussed at the previous meeting, ensure that that's followed up at all times. Or are there any outstanding actions from there that we need to address? All right. So that's A. Then it goes on to the management review shall include consideration of B, changes in external and internal issues that are relevant to the OH&S management system, including 1, the needs and expectations of interested parties, 2, legal requirements and other requirements, and 3, risks and opportunities. Right, does that ring a bell? Is anywhere else in the standard that talks about external and internal issues? It's clause 4.1, where it talks about the context of the organisation. So we're really just looping back to what we did in 4.1 when we went through the exercise of, okay, what are these external and internal issues or influences on the business? These external and internal issues, as I said, we've already determined them when we set up our system. External, regulatory bodies, legal requirements, suppliers, customers. Internal issues, your employees, your own processes and systems. But this is now talking about changes in those. So you've already got this set up as a result of clause 4.1. So now all you're doing is looking at what was the outcome of 4.1. What did you identify as these external and internal issues? And then go, well, are these still relevant? Have they changed? It's as simple as that. Then it goes on to, as I mentioned, 1, the needs and expectations of interested parties. So that's clause 4.2. You've already done this as well. When you set up your system, clause 4.2 wants you to understand the needs and expectations of workers and interested parties. So what did you identify in that step? And now it's, okay, let's review this. What did we identify? Has anything changed? Do we have to add anything else to this? Okay, so it's just keeping an eye on what you've already done. Then you've got your legal requirements and other requirements. So that's 6.1.3. Part of that clause is identify what your legal and other requirements are and how they apply. Have they changed? All right, so you've already done these 3 things, and this input, this requirement for management review is simply, is it still the same? Do we need to update it? Do we need to add anything new? All right, and then those 3 things feed into the risks and opportunities. All right, so you would have identified as a result of those 3 previous steps certain risks and opportunities, and now it's about, have they changed as a result of the previous things changing? It all feeds into each other, and you can see this is nothing new. This is just a matter of keeping an eye on, well, has anything changed? All right. Then you go to C, the extent to which the OH&S policy and the OH&S objectives have been met. You created your OH&S policy, you've implemented, established your OH&S objectives already in the system. In your policy, you've put your overarching intent for your OH&S management system. In your objectives, you've really got, well, this is how we're going to achieve our intent. This is how we're going to achieve. This is a strategy to meet the needs and expectations of interested parties, meet our legal requirements. You can see it feeds all the way down. So this point in management review is just asking you to determine the extent to which the policy and the objectives have been met. So it's like, are we meeting the intent of our overarching policy? Are we meeting our OH&S objectives? So that's why when we talk about OH&S objectives, we talk about them being measurable, okay? Because at this point in management review, you've set some OH&S objectives. Now you've got to see, well, where are we at? Are we meeting those? Okay, you don't need to meet them. There's nowhere that says you have to meet them, but I'll talk about that in clause 6.2, so go and find that video. I'll try to stay on track. Okay, so let's move to D. Information on the OH&S performance, including trends in. Now there's 6 of these, so bear with me. So remember, we're talking about information on the OH&S performance, including trends in 1, incidents, non-conformities, corrective actions, and continual improvement. 2, monitoring and measurement results. 3, results of evaluation of compliance with legal requirements and other requirements. 4, audit results. 5, consultation and participation of workers. And 6, risks and opportunities. So there's a bit sitting under this section D that talks about OH&S performance, including trends. Okay, so as I mentioned before, if you're conducting this as a management review meeting, you just simply go through your stats for this. How many incidents have occurred? How many non-conformities? What's the corrective action status? Your monitoring and measurement results on your OH&S system. So you might do, site walkarounds, you might interview staff, you might do toolbox talks, like all of these operational tasks you have in place. Now it's about, how are these going? Are they being conducted? What are the outcomes and results of these? Okay, which is a great segue to 3, where it says results of evaluation of compliance with your legal requirements and other requirements. So obviously you need to identify your applicable legal requirements, but that's not where it ends. You identify and you apply it, obviously, but you need to review the results of evaluation. I think it comes up in clause 9, maybe 9.1.2. I don't want to flick to it here, but you'll find there's a specific evaluation of compliance subclause in 45,001. So now this is about, well, how did that evaluation go? Okay, how are we going? Are we compliant? Were there any gaps? And that's a great segue to number 4, which is audit results. So you've conducted audits, internal audits throughout a duration of time. What were the results? What non-conformances were identified, which sort of loops up to point 1. But don't forget, you might also have external audit results as well. So this is just audit results. What's the outcome? Are there any trends? Do we need to be aware of anything? Then number 5, consultation and participation of workers. So that goes back to clause 5.4. So there's specific areas where workers need to be consulted with and be part of decision making as participation. So how is that process going? How are they involved? What's been the outcome of this? All right. And again, just like the previous section, this all leads into risks and opportunities. As a result of this, are there new risks? Are there new opportunities? All right. You can see as I'm working through these, there's nothing new, right? All of this should have already been done within your OH&S management system. This is about reviewing it as per the clause, management review, okay? Being curious, what's going on? What can we learn from this, all right? Then the next one is E, adequacy of resources for maintaining an effective OH&S management system. So how are our resources? Okay, and this is not just human resources, it's plant, equipment, hardware, software, tools, the excavator, the communication system, any sort of resource that is needed to maintain your OH&S management system. Okay, have there been any gaps? It could be competency gaps as well. It's just a general check, and you might find that these are recorded as a non-conformance or an improvement opportunity. So you might find these gaps have already been identified. Now it's about what are we doing about it. All right. Then we move to F, relevant communications with interested parties. Okay, so what's the communication been with interested parties? Who are these interested parties? You should have identified these in clause 4.2. As a result of the output of clause 4.2, to understand the needs and expectations of your interested parties, what communications were decided upon with these interested parties? You may have also picked this up in clause 7.4, which is communication, and there's a specific part in there that talks about that as well. Okay, and then finally G is opportunities for continual improvement. You should be looking at opportunities for continual improvement as you work through each of those previous items. That's the whole point of management review. One is to understand what's going on, and two is like, what can we do about it? What are we doing about it? And is there any more that we can do? And it's all driven towards continual improvement. Now, that's what I call the inputs to the management review. It moves to, clause 9.3 moves to the outputs. All right, so I'll go through that as well and break it down. So the outputs of the management review shall include decisions related to the continuing suitability, adequacy and effectiveness of the OH&S management system in achieving its intended outcomes. Okay, I'll stop there. So the outputs shall include decisions related to. So just to recap on that. So what I'm expecting is to see some decisions made after we've reviewed all of those, what was it, A through to G, all of those inputs, all right? So we need to see this output, and I'm going to skip ahead because the very last sentence in this clause says that the organisation shall retain documented information as evidence of the results of management reviews. We need evidence. We need stuff written down. The outputs of the management review shall include decisions related to the continuing suitability, adequacy and effectiveness of the OH&S management system in achieving its intended outcomes. Okay, so through discussions from those inputs A to G, is it working? Is this OH&S management system suitable? Is it adequate? Is it effective? Is it working? What are the gaps? The answers to all those questions need to be written down somewhere. We need to see evidence because we need to retain documented information. The next one does talk about continual improvement opportunities. So remember what opportunities were identified through this review process. Record it, write it down. We need evidence. Then we need to see actions, evidence around decisions made around any need for changes to the OH&S management system. You can see so far these 3 points, and there's 4 more. These should naturally come out of those input discussions, A through to G, that I have just talked about. This is a natural output. Any need for changes to the OH&S management system. The resources needed. So remember we had one here. E was adequacy of resources for maintaining the OH&S management system. If they weren't adequate, then we need to do something about it. So we need to see some actions around resources. Then we should still see evidence of why it's okay and no further action is needed. The third point in this output section is actions if needed. What are we going to do about it? Then the second last bullet point is opportunities to improve the integration of the OH&S management system with other business processes. Love that. We can never have too much of that. That does pop up earlier in the standard, it must be around clause 4.4, where it talks about integrating the OH&S management system. So top management is here reviewing the system, seeing how well the system's doing, what the improvement opportunities are, and of course there's going to be opportunities to integrate it. So we never want your OH&S management system just sitting over in the corner working on its own. Are there better opportunities to integrate the system into our everyday business processes? And finally, the last bullet point for the outputs is any implications for the strategic direction of the organisation. Yeah, so the strategic direction is set earlier on under leadership. I think that's that very first clause there under clause 5. It's around, we set our objectives to be in line with the strategic direction as well. So you can see that by reviewing all of those input requirements earlier, and any changes that you implement as a result of it, you should naturally ask yourself, are these in line with the strategic direction that we're heading? Or do these influence our strategic direction? Do we need to tweak that a bit? Is there something new? All right. And then finally, it states that top management shall communicate the relevant outputs of management reviews to workers and, where they exist, workers' representatives. The results of this management review, because remember the very last sentence tells us we need evidence and it's to be retained as documented information. So we'll have a record of these outputs and the actions. We need to communicate those actions and outputs to our workers and, where they exist, workers' representatives. This isn't something we keep to ourselves as top management. This is unique to 45,001 because it's all about the workers. All right, so in this instance, if you have a 45,001 OH&S management system, any outputs from your management review are to be communicated to your workers. I have already shared with you the very last sentence in this clause, which is about retaining documented information. That finishes the clause off. But overall, and for people that don't already know, clause 9.3 in any of the ISO standards is truly my favorite because, and I hope I've sort of explained that as I've gone through it, it's covering everything that we should already have set up. It's covering everything that we should already know, but now it's our opportunity to see how we're going against it. It's our opportunity to see more improvement opportunities. If you're top management, or if you're, say, a OH&S manager and you're involved in providing these reports, this is a fantastic opportunity to take your system to the next level. Clearly, you are truly dedicated to learning more about ISO standards. I love having you learn with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Auditor Training Online is a recognised training provider, and we know how it works in the real world. So we are confident that we can help you to make a change in your life and join the most sought after profession out there. Go to our website and enroll in our training to transform your work and industry experience into a recognised qualification and career. And also, don't forget to subscribe to ATOL TV and leave a comment or question, as I truly do want to help you to join the best career out there with me.